Everyone who has Dead Space 2 knows exactly what hardcore mode is, but just in case you don't and you're watching this for some other reason, I'll explain to you what exactly it is. First of all, I'll tell you what the difficulty is like in the game. Now, a lot of people can barely finish Dead Space 2 anything above the casual difficulty level. Now, hardcore mode is 5 steps up, and you get no checkpoints. You get 3 saves. You die, you go back to your last save. If you haven't saved, then it's back to the very start of the game. And I don't mean just the introduction, it's back to the credits, the starting, everything. It is absolutely ridiculous. Now, why would anybody want to do this? I'll explain to you why. Because if you can do this, you'll be known to have completed one of the most difficulty modes in any game of this generation. Now, I completed this with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and I'm going to help you. I'm just using this video to make sure that you don't have to go through the same torture as I did. So, let's begin. So, now, first of all, I'm going to assume that you've completed the game at least twice already, and you know exactly the layout, how to use your weapons appropriately, etc., etc. But just in case you don't, or you're a little bit not as confident, I'll explain to you exactly what you do have to do. Now, first of all, I'll start with the weapons. I'll go through each and every single of the weapons and tell you exactly if you need them, or if you don't, and when you should use them. To start with, the plasma cutter. Now, this is a weapon that is completely essential for every single part of the game. It doesn't matter what your style of game is, you need this weapon in your inventory at all times. I honestly, wandering down the dark hallway, not knowing what's going to come next, I have never been more confident with any other weapon other than a plasma cutter in my hand, fully loaded. I recommend you upgrading this with as many nodes as you possibly can as soon as possible. It is the best weapon in the entire game. Now, the line gun, well, it is a good weapon, but it doesn't stack that well. It's good. It's pretty good early on, but other than that, for example, past chapter 5 or 6, you're really not going to like it. It's really useless weapon and can't do as much damage. It takes way too long to reload, and it doesn't do crowd control well, which is extremely disappointing, as it's a really unique weapon, but doesn't really do as much damage as it could. I would recommend you using it for the first 5 chapters, and that's it. Now, the force gun. This is extremely good weapon. The alt fire especially is almost like the contact beam. I would recommend you getting this weapon as soon as possible. The ammo costs quite a bit, but I would still recommend you getting it. It's probably the best weapon of the entire game to some people, and can save your ass in a close battle so easily. I would definitely recommend you getting it. It's extremely decent ammo stacking in inventory, so if you're not just going to waste your money on suits like I did, I would recommend you get it. Now, the contact beam. This is the other best weapon in the game. This is probably my favorite personally. With a single shot, it's a one-hit kill for just about any enemy in the game, and it's essential for the final fight. And especially the alt fire, you can use it to you can detonate it on the ground to make all the enemies fall down, and you can get your quick getaway. And especially if you upgrade it, you can use a special stasis effect. It's unbelievably reliable when you're surrounded. Now, the detonator. This is an iffy weapon, to say the least. You can easily get yourself killed with this weapon, so you have to be really careful. It's like a proximity mine, but I would recommend you using it, buying it, but putting it to your safe, and only getting it when you're near a store, before you know that there's a section with the stalkers, because I can tell you they'll be so much easier. When you're in a narrow hallway, I would recommend you using them to put them behind you just in case. Because if you do use it as an ordinary weapon and the necros come swarming at you, you'll kill yourself more than that you'll actually kill them. So I would be very, very careful with this. Javelin gun. Well, some people like it, some people don't. I personally really dislike it. You need to be a perfect marksman every single time, and if you panic, which is quite often, and you get scared, you have no idea where to fire a gun, you'll miss too many times, it takes way too long to reload, even though the alt fire is pretty good for crowd control, especially with what they're called, I forgot what they're called, the little baby packs. But Other than that, you can also use the Ripper. That is a fantastic weapon. I would recommend you using that as well. You can use a massive buzzsaw that can destroy, cut through almost everything. I can tell you now, having stasis plus the Ripper can damage just about everything. I would highly recommend it. I'm not going to waste time going through the other three weapons. The Seeker, the Pulse Rifle, and the Flamethrower. They're all completely crap. Even though the Pulse Rifle is not bad when you're with the little babies, whatever the pack. Sorry, yeah, it's actually pretty good. It's actually a pretty good idea to use that, but I wouldn't recommend it as really weak. Other than that, okay. So now here's some basic survival instincts. What you should do is upgrade your rig, upgrade your stasis, and upgrade your kinesis. Now, don't even bother upgrading your air on your rig. That's just a completely waste of time. Make sure you just upgrade the HP. Make sure you upgrade stasis as well. You can make it to be a lifesaver, especially when you stasis an enemy and you just run past them. It can save you so much time. When you're buying, don't buy weapons that you know you don't need. Don't buy ammo that you won't need, and do not buy health packs that you're just going to spam. You need to be really careful. I have made the mistake of buying a large health pack when I've only got a few, when my rig was on green, and when I panicked I just pressed circle and I just used up 10,000 credits. Be very, very careful. Now, another thing, a lot of people have died when some enemies fake their deaths and they lie on the floor. Be careful. If you see them, don't go near them if you think they're faking. If they've got both their arms still attached, that means it's probably faking. To make sure, if they don't drop anything or they cannot be kinesis grabbed, it is still alive. Be careful and make sure that you throw something at it first, like a box or whatever, just to make it jump up, because the last thing you want is to turn around and find that you've got an exploder behind your back. But other than that, so now, of course, you'll need to save. Where are you going to save? That's the question. I'll tell you what I saved. I saved in Chapter 5, right at the very beginning of Chapter 5. I saved at Chapter 9, right before you get on the train. And I saved at Chapter 11, just after you send Ellie off on the gunship. Now, a lot of people might have, I would recommend you, it depends on what sort of gamer you are or how confident you are. If you're not that confident, I would recommend you either save at probably Chapter 3, because Chapter 3 is really hard, where there's a random spawn point. Sometimes it can be 3 exploders that come at you, and that's hell, to say the least. I have died so many times and sent back to the beginning of the game from that spot. I would recommend you saving at Chapter 3 if you're not that confident. If you are, I would recommend you go to 5, but if you do want to, you can try and push a 6, but I wouldn't recommend it. Now, you can also I wouldn't recommend you saving at 7 or 8. A lot of people do, but I wouldn't recommend it. But I wouldn't recommend you saving at anything but 9, to be honest. A lot of people feel they can push it to 10, but I can't do it. 10 is by far the hardest chapter in the game, and the last thing I need is to die and get sent back to my last save. Now, about where you're going to save your last save, you cannot save it anywhere else other than Chapter 13, because I would recommend you saving it either right when you get at the very beginning or after you send Ellie off on the gunship, because Chapter 13 is probably the second hardest chapter in the game, even though you can rerun it instant. You can speedrun it quickly. In fact, I can speedrun Chapter 13 all the way to the final boss fight in no more than half an hour, which is actually pretty good. So I would recommend you saving there. And if you die, it isn't even a big deal, which is a good thing considering that how annoying it is to die. Now, the enemies are pretty ranged. Varied, but the ones that you have to be extremely careful of are the Exploder, the Stalker, the Guardian, because they can give you instant decapitation on the walls, so be extremely careful, and of course the Hunters. These things cannot die. I have tried thousands of times. There's nothing you can do. These things will not die no matter what you do. Now, you might think me crazy, but there actually is a necromorph that is not bad. I'll tell you what it is. The Cyst. You can sometimes what you can do is you can throw something such as a box at them, and then they'll spit the sack out. You can use that sack then with your kinesis to throw it at something else. I have ended so many close battles. I've ended so many close battles by getting a cyst sack, throwing it at the other necromorphs, and just then killing the cyst easily. It's become so much easier. It's almost like mines, but be very careful because these can easily trick you into coming closer. So that's all I'm going to leave you. I'm going to leave you with that for now. Next video, I'm going to go through each chapter by chapter and tell you exactly what you'll need to do and the most difficult parts. I hope you did enjoy this. I'm going to see if you do need any help, any further help. Please contact me because I'm more than willing to help you out. This game is extremely difficult on hardcore mode, and if I can help anybody have an easier time than I did, I'm more than happy to do it. Thanks for watching this video, and I have to say again, thanks to Wolfwood for letting me use his videos. He's the reason I actually completed hardcore mode. I wouldn't have completed it without him, and he deserves more than enough credit for the videos, for his work in these videos. Thank you everyone very much. I hope you enjoyed the video.